Belgique French, Belgique German, Belgian, officially the Kingdom of Belgium, is a sovereign state in Western Europe. It is a small, densely populated country which covers an area of 30,528 square kilometers and has a population of about 11 million people. Straddling the cultural boundary between Germanic and Latin Europe, Belgium is home to two main linguistic groups: the Dutch-speaking, mostly Flemish community, which constitutes about 59% of the population, and the French-speaking, mostly Walloon population, which comprises 41% of all Belgians. Additionally, there is a small group of German speakers who live in the East Cantons located around the High Fens area and bordering Germany. Historically, Belgium, the Netherlands and Luxembourg were known as the Low Countries. It once covered a somewhat larger area than the current Benelux group of states. The region was called Belgique in Latin, after the Roman province of Gallia Belgica. For the end of the Middle Ages until the 17th century, the area of Belgium was a prosperous and cosmopolitan center of commerce and culture. For the 16th century until the Belgian Revolution in 1830, when Belgium seceded from the Netherlands, the area of Belgium served as the battleground between many European powers, causing it to be dubbed the battlefield of Europe, a reputation strengthened by both world wars. Today, Belgium is a federal constitutional monarchy with a parliamentary system of governance. It is divided into 3 regions and 3 communities that exist next to each other. Its 2 largest regions are the Dutch-speaking region of Flanders in the north and the French-speaking southern region of Wallonia. The Brussels capital region, officially bilingual, is a mostly French-speaking enclave within the Flemish region. A German-speaking community exists in eastern Wallonia. Belgium's linguistic diversity and related political conflicts are reflected in its political history and complex system of governance, made up of 6 different governments. Upon its independence, Belgium participated in the Industrial Revolution and, during the course of the 20th century, possessed a number of colonies in Africa. The second half of the 20th century was marked by rising tensions between the Dutch-speaking and the French-speaking citizens, fueled by differences in language and culture and the unequal economic development of Flanders and Wallonia. This continuing antagonism has led to several far-reaching reforms, resulting in a transition from a unitary to a federal arrangement during the period from 1970 to 1993. Despite the reforms, tensions between the groups remain, if not increased. There is significant separatism, particularly among the Flemish. Controversial language laws exist, such as the municipalities with language facilities, and the formation of a coalition government took 18 months following the June 2010 federal election, a world record. Belgium is a founding member of the European Union, Eurozone, NATO, OECD and WTO, and a part of the trilateral Benelux Union. Its capital, Brussels, hosts several of the EU's official seats as well as the headquarters of many major international organizations such as NATO. Belgium is also a part of the Schengen area. Belgium is a developed country with an advanced high-income economy and is categorized as very high in the Human Development Index. History. The name Belgique is derived from Gallia Belgica, a Roman province in the northernmost part of Gaul that before Roman invasion in 100 BC, was inhabited by the Belgi, a mix of Celtic and Germanic peoples. A gradual immigration by Germanic Frankish tribes during the 5th century brought the area under the rule of the Merovingian king kings. A gradual shift of power during the 8th century led the Kingdom of the Franks to evolve into the Carolingian Empire. The Treaty of Verdun in 843 divided the region into Middle and West Francia and therefore into a set of more or less independent fiefdoms which, during the Middle Ages, were vassals either of the King of France or of the Holy Roman Emperor. Many of these fiefdoms were united in the Burgundian Netherlands of the 14th and 15th centuries. Emperor Charles V extended the personal union of the 17 provinces in the 1540s, making it far more than a personal union by the Pragmatic Sanction of 1549, and increased his influence over the Prince-Bishopric of Liege. The 80 Years' War divided the Low Countries into the northern United Provinces and the southern Netherlands. The latter were ruled successively by the Spanish and the Austrian Habsburgs and comprised most of modern Belgium. This was the theatre of most Franco-Spanish and Franco-Austrian wars during the 17th and 18th centuries. Following the campaigns of 1794 in the French Revolutionary Wars, the Low Countries, including territories that were never nominally under Habsburg rule, such as the Prince-Bishopric of Liege, were annexed by the French First Republic, ending Austrian rule in the region. The reunification of the Low Countries as the United Kingdom of the Netherlands occurred at the dissolution of the First French Empire in 1815, after the defeat of Napoleon. In 1830, the Belgian Revolution led to the separation of the southern provinces from the Netherlands and to the establishment of a Catholic and bourgeois, officially French-speaking and neutral, independent Belgium under a provisional government and a national congress. Since the installation of Leopold I as king on the 21st of July 1831, now celebrated as Belgium's National Day, Belgium has been a constitutional monarchy and parliamentary democracy, with a laicist constitution based on the Napoleonic Code. Although the franchise was initially restricted, universal suffrage for men was introduced after the General Strike of 1893 and for women in 1949. The main political parties of the 19th century were the Catholic Party and the Liberal Party, with the Belgian Labour Party emerging towards the end of the 19th century. French was originally the single official language adopted by the nobility and the bourgeoisie. It progressively lost its overall importance as Dutch became recognized as well. This recognition became official in 1898, and in 1967 the Parliament accepted a Dutch version of the Constitution. The Berlin Conference of 1885 ceded control of the Congo Free State to King Leopold II as his private possession. From around 1900 there was growing international concern for the extreme and savage treatment of the Congolese population under Leopold II, for whom the Congo was primarily a source of revenue from ivory and rubber production. Many Congolese were killed by Leopold's agents for failing to meet production quotas for ivory and rubber. It is estimated that nearly 10 million were killed during the Leopold period. In 1908 this outcry led the Belgian state to assume responsibility for the government of the colony, henceforth called the Belgian Congo. A Belgian commission in 1919 estimated that Congo's population was half what it was in 1879. Germany invaded Belgium in August 1914 as part of the Schlieffen Plan to attack France, and much of the Western Front fighting of World War I occurred in western parts of the country. The opening months of the war were known as the Rape of Belgium due to German excesses. Belgium assumed control of the German colonies of Rwanda-Urundi during the war, and in 1924 the League of Nations mandated them to Belgium. In the aftermath of the First World War, the Prussian districts of Kampen and Malmedy were annexed by Belgium in 1925, thereby causing the presence of a German-speaking minority. German forces again invaded the country in May 1940 and 40,690 Belgians, over half of them Jews, were killed during the subsequent occupation and the Holocaust. From September 1944 to February 1945, Belgium was liberated by the Allies. After World War II, a general strike forced King Leopold III, who many Belgians felt had collaborated with Germany during the war, to abdicate in 1951. The Belgian Congo gained independence in 1960 during the Congo Crisis. Rwanda-Urundi followed with its independence 2 years later. Belgium joined NATO as a founding member and formed the Benelux group of nations with the Netherlands and Luxembourg. Belgium became one of the 6 founding members of the European Coal and Steel Community in 1951 and of the European Atomic Energy Community and European Economic Community, established in 1957. The latter has now become the European Union, for which Belgium hosts major administrations and institutions, including the European Commission, the Council of the European Union, and the extraordinary and committee sessions of the European Parliament. Geography. Belgium shares borders with France, Germany, Luxembourg and the Netherlands. Its total area, including surface water area, is 30,528 square kilometers. Land area alone is 30,278 square kilometers. It lies between latitudes 49 degrees 30 and 51 degrees 30 N, and longitudes 2 degrees 33 and 6 degrees 24 E. Belgium has 3 main geographical regions. The coastal plain in the northwest and the central plateau both belong to the Anglo-Belgian basin. The Ardennes uplands in the southeast are part of the Hercynian orogenic belt. The Paris Basin reaches a small fourth area at Belgium's southernmost tip, Belgian-Lorraine. The coastal plain consists mainly of sand dunes and polders. Further inland lies a smooth, slowly rising landscape irrigated by numerous waterways, with fertile valleys and the northeastern sandy plain of the Campine. The thickly forested hills and plateau of the Ardennes are more rugged and rocky, with caves and small gorges extending westward into France. This area is eastwardly connected to the Eifel in Germany by the High Fens plateau, on which the Signal de Bot range forms the country's highest point at 694 meters. The climate is maritime temperate with significant precipitation in all seasons, like most of northwest Europe. The average temperature is lowest in January at 3 degrees Celsius and highest in July at 18 degrees Celsius. The average precipitation per month varies between 54 mm for February or April to 78 mm for July. Averages for the years 2000 to 2006 show daily temperature minimums of 7 degrees Celsius and maximums of 14 degrees Celsius and monthly rainfall of 74 mm. These are about 1 degree Celsius and nearly 10 mm above last century's normal values, respectively. Phytogeographically, Belgium is shared between the Atlantic European and Central European provinces of the Circumboreal region within the Boreal Kingdom. According to the Worldwide Fund for Nature, the territory of Belgium belongs to the ecoregion of Atlantic mixed forests. Because of its high population density, industrialization and its location in the center of Western Europe, Belgium still faces some environmental problems. However, due to consistent efforts by the various levels of government in Belgium, the state of the environment in Belgium is gradually improving. This led to Belgium being ranked as one of the top 10 countries in terms of environmental protection trends, and Belgium being ranked in 2012 as the 24th country out of 132 for environmental protection. Belgium, moreover, has one of Europe's highest waste recycling rates. In particular, the Flemish region of Belgium has the highest waste diversion rate in Europe. Almost 75% of the residential waste produced there is reused, recycled, or composted. Provinces. The territory of Belgium is divided into 3 regions, 2 of which, the Flemish region and Walloon region, are in turn subdivided into provinces. The third region, the Brussels Capital Region, is neither a province nor a part of a province. Politics. Belgium is a constitutional, popular monarchy and a federal parliamentary democracy. The bicameral federal parliament is composed of a Senate and a Chamber of Representatives. The former is made up of 50 senators appointed by the parliaments of the communities and regions and 10 co-opted senators. Prior to 2014, most of the Senate's members were directly elected. The Chamber's 150 representatives are elected under a proportional voting system from 11 electoral districts. Belgium has compulsory voting and thus maintains one of the highest rates of voter turnout in the world. The king is the head of state, though with limited prerogatives. He appoints ministers, including a prime minister, that have the confidence of the Chamber of Representatives to form the federal government. The Council of Ministers is composed of no more than 15 members. With the possible exception of the Prime Minister, the Council of Ministers is composed of an equal number of Dutch-speaking members and French-speaking members. The judicial system is based on civil law and originates from the Napoleonic Code. The Court of Cassation is the court of last resort, with the Court of Appeal one level below. Political culture. Belgium's political institutions are complex. Most political power is organized around the need to represent the main cultural communities. Since about 1970, the significant national Belgian political parties have split into distinct components that mainly represent the political and linguistic interests of these communities. The major parties in each community, though close to the political center, belong to 3 main groups: Christian Democrats, Liberals, and Social Democrats. Further notable parties came into being well after the middle of last century, mainly around linguistic, nationalist, or environmental themes, and recently smaller ones of some specific liberal nature. A string of Christian Democrat coalition governments from 1958 was broken in 1999 after the first dioxin crisis, a major food contamination scandal. A rainbow coalition emerged from 6 parties: the Flemish and the French-speaking Liberals, Social Democrats and Greens. Later, a purple coalition of Liberals and Social Democrats formed after the Greens lost most of the seats in the 2003 election. The government, led by Prime Minister Guy Verhofstadt from 1999 to 2007, achieved a balanced budget, some tax reforms, a labor market reform, scheduled nuclear phase-out, and instigated legislation allowing more stringent war crime and more lenient soft drug usage prosecution. Restrictions on withholding euthanasia were reduced and same-sex marriage legalized. The government promoted active diplomacy in Africa and opposed the invasion of Iraq. Verhofstadt's coalition fared badly in the June 2007 elections. For more than a year, the country experienced a political crisis. This crisis was such that many observers speculated on a possible partition of Belgium. For the 21st of December 2007 until the 20th of March 2008, the temporary Verhofstadt III government was in office. This coalition of the Flemish and Francophone Christian Democrats, the Flemish and Francophone Liberals together with the Francophone Social Democrats was an interim government until the 20th of March 2008. On that day a new government, led by Flemish Christian Democrat Yves Leterme, the actual winner of the federal elections of June 2007, was sworn in by the king. On the 15th of July 2008, Leterme announced the resignation of the cabinet to the king, as no progress in constitutional reforms had been made. In December 2008 he once more offered his resignation to the king after a crisis surrounding the sale of Fortis to BNP Paribas. At this juncture, his resignation was accepted and Christian Democratic and Flemish Herman Van Rompuy was sworn in as Prime Minister on the 30th of December 2008. After Herman Van Rompuy was designated the first permanent president of the European Council on the 19th of November 2009, he offered the resignation of his government to King Albert II on the 25th of November 2009. A few hours later, the new government under Prime Minister Yves Leterme was sworn in. On the 22nd of April 2010, Leterme again offered the resignation of his cabinet to the king after one of the coalition partners, the Open, withdrew from the government, and on the 26th of April 2010 King Albert officially accepted the resignation. The parliamentary elections in Belgium on the 13th of June 2010 saw the Flemish nationalist N-VA become the largest party in Flanders, and the Socialist Party PS the largest party in Wallonia. Until December 2011, Belgium was governed by Leterme's caretaker government awaiting the end of the deadlocked negotiations for formation of a new government. By the 30th of March 2011 this set a new world record for the elapsed time without an official government, previously held by war-torn Iraq. Finally, in December 2011 the Di Rupo government led by Walloon Socialist Prime Minister Elio Di Rupo was sworn in. The 2014 federal election resulted in a further electoral gain for the Flemish nationalist N-VA, although the incumbent coalition maintains a solid majority in parliament and in all electoral constituencies. On the 22nd of July 2014, King Philippe nominated Charles Michel and Chris Peters to lead the formation of a new federal cabinet composed of the Flemish parties N-VA, CD and AMP-V, Open VLD and the French-speaking Mr, which resulted in the Michel government. It is the first time N-VA is part of the federal cabinet while the French-speaking side is represented only by the Mr, which achieved a minority of the public votes in Wallonia, communities and regions following a usage which can be traced back to the Burgundian and Habsburgian courts. In the 19th century it was necessary to speak French to belong to the governing upper class, and those who could only speak Dutch were effectively second-class citizens. Late that century, and continuing into the 20th century, Flemish movements evolved to counter this situation. While the people in southern Belgium spoke French or dialects of French, and most Brussels adopted French as the first language, the Flemings refused to do so and succeeded progressively in making Dutch an equal language in the education system. Following World War II, Belgian politics became increasingly dominated by the autonomy of its two main linguistic communities. Intercommunal tensions rose and the constitution was amended to minimize the potential for conflict. based on the 4 language areas defined in 1962-63 consecutive revisions of the country's constitution in 1970, 1980, 1988 and 1993 established a unique form of a federal state with segregated political power into 3 levels: the federal government, based in Brussels; the 3 language communities, the Flemish community, the French community, the German-speaking community; the 3 regions, the Flemish region, subdivided into 5 provinces; the Walloon region, subdivided into 5 provinces; the Brussels capital region. The constitutional language areas determine the official languages in the municipalities, as well as the geographical limits of the empowered institutions for specific matters, although this would allow for 7 parliaments and governments when the communities and regions were created in 1980. Flemish politicians decided to merge both. Thus the Flemings just have one single institutional body of parliament, and government is empowered for all except federal and specific municipal matters. The overlapping boundaries of the regions and communities have created 2 notable peculiarities. The territory of the Brussels capital region is included in both the Flemish and French communities, and the territory of the German-speaking community lies wholly within the Walloon region. Conflicts about jurisdiction between the bodies are resolved by the Constitutional Court of Belgium. The structure is intended as a compromise to allow different cultures to live together peacefully. Locus of policy jurisdiction. The federal state's authority includes justice, defense, federal police, social security, nuclear energy, monetary policy and public debt, and other aspects of public finances. State-owned companies include the Belgian Post Group and Belgian Railways. The federal government is responsible for the obligations of Belgium and its federalized institutions towards the European Union and NATO. It controls substantial parts of public health, home affairs and foreign affairs. The budget, without the debt controlled by the federal government, amounts to about 50% of the national fiscal income. The federal government employs around 12% of the civil servants. Communities exercise their authority only within linguistically determined geographical boundaries, originally oriented towards the individuals of a community's language, culture, education and the use of the relevant language. Extensions to personal matters less directly connected with language comprise health policy and assistance to individuals. Regions have authority in fields that can be broadly associated with the territory. These include economy, employment, agriculture, water policy, housing, public works, energy, transport, the environment, town and country planning, nature conservation, credit and foreign trade. They supervise the provinces, municipalities and intercommunal utility companies. In several fields, the different levels each have their own say on specifics. With education, for instance, the autonomy of the communities neither includes decisions about the compulsory aspect nor allows for setting minimum requirements for awarding qualifications, which remain federal matters. Each level of government can be involved in scientific research and international relations associated with its powers. The treaty-making power of the regions and communities' governments is the broadest of all the federating units of all the federations all over the world. Foreign relations. Because of its location at the crossroads of Western Europe, Belgium has historically been the route of invading armies from its larger neighbors. With virtually defenseless borders, Belgium has traditionally sought to avoid domination by the more powerful nations which surround it through policy of mediation. The Belgians have been strong advocates of European integration. Both the European Union and NATO are headquartered in Belgium. Armed forces. The Belgian armed forces have about 47,000 active troops. In 2010, Belgium's defense budget totaled €3.95 billion. They are organized into one unified structure which consists of four main components: land component, or the army; air component, or the air force; naval component, or the navy; medical component. The operational commands of the four components are subordinate to the Staff Department for Operations and Training of the Ministry of Defense, which is headed by the Assistant Chief of Staff Operations and Training, and to the Chief of Defense. The effects of the Second World War made collective security a priority for Belgian foreign policy. In March 1948, Belgium signed the Treaty of Brussels, and then joined NATO in 1948. However, the integration of the armed forces into NATO did not begin until after the Korean War. The Belgians, along with the Luxembourg government, sent a detachment of battalion strength to fight in Korea known as the Belgian United Nations Command. This mission was the first in a long line of UN missions which the Belgians supported. Currently, the Belgian naval component is working closely together with the Dutch Navy under the command of the Admiral Benelux.